Hi, my friend. You are welcome back to Physique Fashioners channel. My name is Fola. We appreciate as many that has been subscribing to this channel. And if you are yet to subscribe, today is the day. Subscribe today. Today we'll be learning how to make a corporate A-line dress. Let's go. I'll be using this fabric. It's one of these sample material. So and it has two sides, you can see. So, and I'll be taking advantage of these two sides to design my dress. So let's go. We want to first of all cut out the back view of our A-line dress. Now, the first thing we want to do is to cut out the back view of our A-line dress. And to achieve that, my fabric has been folded into two. And what I consider in folding my fabric is the hip part. The hip measurement we are working with is 39. When you divide it by 4, give us something around 10 inches. So 10 inches, I added my 1 inch seam allowance to it. That's 11 plus seam allowance. You are adding to your measurements. That's 12. Then I now consider the 2 inches we are going to be adding to our A-line part down here. So I consider 14 to 15 inches in folding my fabrics. And then from up here, I first of all draw out the half an inch that I'll be using as a hem allowance for the up part. Thereafter, I consider the armhole line of 8 inches because the measurements, the bust measurements we are working with is 33. And to get your armhole line for bust 33, you divide that 33 by 6. When you divide the 33 by 6, it gives you 5.5. So then you add 1.5 to it. 5.5 plus 1.5 gives us 7 inches. Then you consider your shoulder slope of 1 inch with it. So making 8 inches. So yeah, I have my half back line, that is waistline. So and the half length we are working with is 17 inches, and that will work for the front. So for the back, you are going to deduct the bust that of 1 inch from the back. So that gives us 16 inches for the waistline for the back. That is our half back where waist will be measured. And our hip line is 24 inches. Then the full length is 37 inches. The full length of our gown is 37 inches. Then I consider 1.5 inches as a hem allowance. Our measurement is stopping here for the back. So the next thing we want to do now is to measure the shoulder length. The shoulder length we are working with is 15. I divide it by 2, give me 7.5. Then I had the seam allowance of half inch to it, making 8 inches. So I'm going to measure 8 inches here. So I measure it here as well, 8 inches. Then I connect it. I measure my shoulder slope of 1 inch. Then the wideness of my back neck is 3 inches. I measure 3 inches. Then the depth is 1 inch. So I measure it, then I connect it. So I measure the bust on the bust line. This is our bust line. I measure the bust. The bust we are working with is 33. I divide 33 by 4. It gives me 8.25. So I measure 8.25 here. 8.25. Then 1 inch seam allowance. You can use a 1.5 if you want it to be free in that area. So then this take me to the waistline. The waistline we are working with, the waist measurement we are working with is 27. I divide it by 4. It gives me 6¾ So, but before then, let's quickly get our that. And to achieve that, the bust point we are working with is 10 inches. I mark my 10 inches bust point here. So, and the bust span I'm working with is 8 inches. I divide it by 2. It gives me 4 inches. So I mark my 4 inches here. I mark it here as well. I connect it. So before I connect, I step up here with 1 to 1.5 inches. So I connect it with my straight ruler. Then here I come to the left and to the right with 1/2 inch. So I just connect it straight up. So the next thing I do is that on this point I step down with 5 inches on the same line of my bust span, 4 inches. I connect it. Then I connect it this way as well. Yeah, that is for the that part. Then so on this line I get my waist measurements, and the waist measurements we are working with is 27 divided by 4 give us 6¾ So I measure 6¾ here. I return this 1 inch, then my 1 inch seam allowance. So as I said, you can add just 1/4 inch as a his allowance to your measurements. So I move straight to the hip line. The hip measurement we are working with is 39. So 39 I divide it by 4 give me 9¾ That is 9.75. So I mark it here, 9¾ Then I measure my allowance of 1 inch. I get my seam allowance of 1 inch. Add your his allowance of 1/4 to it. Now to the down part, as whatever you are having here on your hip measurement, I have 11 here. You add 2 to it. From the zipper allowance line, I have 11 inches. I had 2 to it. If I had 2 to with my 11, it gives me 13 inches to create my hair line. So my gown length here, I get what I have on my hip here, which is 11 inches. I had 2 to my 11 inches, making 13 to form my hair line at the length of my dress here. So give me 13. I measure the same 13 on the hem allowance. I connect it. The same 1.5, which is my hem allowance, I step up with that same 1.5 as well. I connect it. So then I join the side together this way. I join the bust to the waist to the hip, then hip to the length of my dress. Yeah. So I move to my center back on the half back. I come out with 1/4 inch. So and I connect it straight up, slantly this way, to avoid the zipper bulge at my center back. So we are going to cut off this. Then from this my center back, the half back, I connect to the hip line slantly as well. So we are going to cut off this, then as we are joining it, we return this 3/4 that remain here, we return it this way for us to have our 1 inch again. So this way, so we connect this back to here. So by the time we have cut out this is the way our back will be folded as we folding it for our zipper. So that is for that. Then we create our armhole line. I connect my shoulder slope this way. Then to create my armhole line, I get the midpoint of this 7 inches, which is 3.5. Then I connect it. So, and mind you, this one you are not cutting it out. This one you are going to hold it as your that the way it is. That's the way you are going to hold it. So we are going to cut it out now. Then mind you, our joining allowance at the shoulder region, we mark it 1/2 inch. Then we get it here. We connect it. So we are going to open here. As we get to this hip parts, we begin to follow our drawn out line that we use and shape our back. Then we cut out the neckline. Yes. So this is our back cut for our headline corporate dress. We want to move straight to the back. So for the to the front. So for the back, we are going to cut out the facing for the back. Now I want to cut out the facing for the back cut. So all you need to do is just get any pieces of your fabric, fold this that you know it can be enough, fold it into 2, then place it this way, then cut it out. Then I get the desired length of my facing, I get it round. I'll be using 2.5. I get it round. So this is the facing I'll be using. Now, after fixing my zipper, I just go ahead and use this to turn it. Yes. So after fixing the zipper is when I'll be applying this. By sewing down, my zipper allowance is 1 inch. So I'll be using invisible zipper. So I fix my zipper. After fixing my zipper, I'll just reduce this side, the center back side. I'll be reducing this with like 1.5 inches before I now join it to my dress to do the facing for my back. So that is it for the facing for the back. Now we want to draft out our front cut for the front cut of our corporate hairline dress, and to achieve that, I will be drafting out the bodies first. The upper part of the dress, because it has joining. So the half length is 17 inches. So we are having 17 inches from this place to this end. The half inch you are seeing here is a joining allowance of the shoulder, and this half inch you are seeing down here is a joining allowance to the skirt part. And this is our bust line, 8 inches, that is going to serve as our armhole line, and we have 10 inches as our bust point, then half length of 17 inches. We are going to get our shoulder length, and we said the shoulder length we are working with is 15. We divide it by 2 to give us 7.5. Then we had half an inch seam allowance, making 8 inches. So we measure 8 inches here. So our shoulder length is 8 inches. So we'll be adding 1/4 of an inch to this shoulder length, because there is something we need to hold in the front to design our dress, so which require to be to use a 1/4 of an inch. So we'll be adding it to this shoulder length. So we have 8/4 here instead of 8 inches. So we have the same thing here, 8/4. Then we connect it with straight ruler. So the next thing we have to do is to get our neckline, and to achieve that, you know, the wideness of the neck for this type of dress is 3 inches. That is the standard, but we'll be adding 1/4 of an inch that we want to use to design here. We'll be adding it to it, so we get 3/4 by 3 inches. It's supposed to be 3 by 3. Then we connect it with our French curve. Yes. Then we get our shoulder slope, 1 inch. We connect it. We get our armhole. We have 7 inches here. We get the midpoint, 3.5. Then we come in by half an inch. Then we get our bust, and the bust measurement we are working with is 33. We divide it by 4. It gives us 8/4. Then we add the 1/4 to it. The 1/4 we want to use here, we add it to it, so making 8.5. So we get 8.5 here with a his of a 1/4, his allowance of 1/4. So then we connect it. Then we move straight to the horizontal measurements now. And you know, we have these are busts that has been measured. Then we had a 1 inch seam allowance to it. Then for the waistline, so the bust span we are working with is 4 inches. It's 7 inches. We divide it by 2, give us 3.5. Then we had half an inch joining allowance to it, making 4. So we measure it here as well. Then we connect it with straight ruler. Then here on this bust point, we step down with like 1 to 1.5. Because of the 1/4 of an inch that is being added here that we're going to hold, so we are going to have an inch, 1/4 of an inch will be added to this as well. So we mark. It's an unusual thing, that's why it escaped my mind. So 1/4 of an inch. So we connect it. So which means instead of 4 inches, we are measuring 4/4. So this is the line we are going to be coming to the left and to the right with with half an inch now. And you know, we step down with a 1. So ignore this line. This is our original line, but because of the design. So on this line now, we come to the left and to the right with a half an inch. Then we connect it from this step down by 1.5. We connect. Yes, this is our dart. So we are going to be measuring our waist on this line, and the waist measurement we are working with is 27. We divide it by 4. Give us 6¾ We had that quarter with it, so making 7. So we measure 7 inches here. We return this 1 inch dart, then with a quarter is allowance, then 1 inch as our seam allowance. So we connect it. We connect the bust to the waist. Then we want to get our bust dart now. So what we do is that, okay, let me connect this. This is our seam allowance of 1 inch. So now to create our bust dart now, all you need to do is to get the midpoint of your, from your bust to the waist. We have a 9 inches, so our midpoint will be 4.5. You mark it. Then on it, you connect straight to go and meet your bust span. So on it, you now step in with a 1 inch. Then on this line, you come to the left, to up and down with a half an inch. Half an inch here, half an inch here. So from this coming with 1 inch, you connect to this half an inch. Then you connect to the upper half an inch by stepping out with a half an inch. You step out with half an inch, then you connect just like this. So then from here you connect to the bust. Connect to the bust, then connect to this middle, just like so. Then this one has been connected together. Then I connect my armhole line proper. So this is it, and the next thing we want to do is that I want to close up this my dart, and to achieve that I will cut it out here. I close it up by using my adhesive gum. Just this way. Yes, I close it up. So the next thing is for me to cut it out. So I'm not going to close the side, the bust that I will be holding down. Then don't forget to draw out your joining, shoulder joining allowance, half an inch here. Connect it. So now we want to get, so by the time you hold this your side dart now, this is the way it's going to be. You are going to hold that half an inch for that half an inch on the center. By the time you hold it, your fabric is going to, lay very well. This is the way it will look. So in that wise, it will match up with your back side. So this is the way it's going to look. And for us to achieve that quarter of an inch that we want to use to design our front cut now. So what we do is that in this center front, we come in with a 0.75, that's a 3/4. We mark it here, we mark it here. 3/4, we connect it the front here. Supposed to have done that before I close up that. So you connect it with your straight ruler. Connect it with your straight ruler. You are not cutting it out. So just for you to remember that after cutting out your fabric, you are going to, you'll be holding this, this is your fabric, it is on fold by the time you open it. So for this side, you are going to be holding it with your machine. You are going to be stitching it on this line of your fabric with less than 1/4. That is like 1/8, half of the quarter is what you use and join it together. You stitch on it very tiny. That's what you do with this line. You do the same thing at the other side. So it will give you like when you open it, it will give you like 1 inch to 1/4. So that's the essence of this quarter that we have that has been added to this side. So when you hold it with half of the quarter, by the time you hold it, which means you have had 1/4. You hold it together with 1/8. So which means you have had 1/4. So that is it. So this is what I'm going to use to cut out, and the template I'll be using to cut out my fabric now for the upper part. So let's move straight to the down part. And note that for your front cut, after closing your darts, by the time you will now place it in your fabric on fold, when you are cutting out this down part, the waist part, you will observe that it's not straight again. After closing this dart, it's not straight again. See the way it goes. So when you are cutting out your fabric, don't cut out your fabric straight. You won't get the concept again. So that is for the upper part of the front cut. So let's move straight to the down part. So for the down part, I will be using the pattern to draft it out as well. So and here we have joining allowance. We're having here half an inch joining allowance. So from here we have a hip line. This is our hip line, and this is the down part. We have a 1.5 here as our hem allowance. And now did I get this length? All you need to do is to place your tape measure. Get, first of all, for this down part, first of all, get your 1.5 hem allowance. Then on it, you get your 37 inches, which is your length, the length of your dress. So here we have, we have cut out our bodies, 17 inches. So this is 17 inches where our bodies stopped. And I now added half an inch hem allowance, joining allowance for upper part and the down part. So that's how I've come about this length. So the next thing we are to do now is to get our waist, and we are told that the waist measurement we are working with is 27, where it is 527 by 4, give us 6 3/4. But firstly, we are going to get our bust span of 4 inches. 4 inches, 7 inches is the nipple to nipple. We divide it by 2, give us 3.5. We had half an inch. So this is it, 4 inches. We measure it here as well. We connect it with straight ruler. So for that part of this dress, we are not adding that cutter that we added in the bodice. So it's not extended to the down part. So on this bust span, we come to the left and to the right with a half an inch. So on this hip line, we step up with 2 inches. We mark it. That's how we connect it to get our darts. So on the waistline, I measure my waist measurement, which is 27 divided by 4. Give us a 6 3/4. I measure 6 3/4 here with my his allowance of the quarter. So that's how I have 7 inches here. Then I measure 1 inch seam allowance. So my hip line, I get the hip. The hip we are working with is 39. We divide it by 4, give us 9 3/4 plus quarter is allowance, that's 10. Measure 10 inches. We get our 1 inch seam allowance. So here now altogether we are having 11 inches. We had 2 inches to hit to form our hairline. So 11 plus 2 give us 13 inches. So we get 13 inches here. We get it on the allowance too. Then we come up with a 1.5. If you use 2 inches as your hem allowance, you do the same here, because by the time you fold you fold the down part of your fabric, it has to be equal with this side. So we connect it. Then on this waistline, we return the 1 inch that allowance. So we connect from waist to the hip this way. Then from hip connect to the down parts of your. So we are good to cut it out. Let me cut it out, then I will close the dart as well for the down parts. So remember, your fabric is going to be on fold when you are cutting it. So I close the dart. So you can see that by the time you close your dart up here, it is not straight again as well, just the way it was up there. So when you are cutting out your fabric, follow this track. So this is the down part of our A-line corporate gown. So for that center front, you'll be, by the after making it, we'll be fixing like a 3 button there. Just it's a fake button, so we'll be fixing it in that front part. Then for the down part, we'll be fixing fake pocket as well. So maybe I'll just use a paper to do the illustration of how to cut out that your fake pocket for you. So cut out the flap for your fake pocket. All you need, just get a sheet of paper, fold it into 2, just this way. Then measure 3.5 up here, then 3.5 this side, So 3.5, 3.5. Yes. Connect it. Just connect it. Connect it this way. So as it is, seam allowance has been added with this. So just measure your half an inch seam allowance. So get, to be on safer side, get your half an inch. Just connect it. Yes. So this is your joining allowance. So I'll just cut it out. Let me cut it out. So this is it. So this is it. You'll be cutting out 4 of this. You cut out 2 of this for one side. You join it right side, facing right side. Then you join it with half an inch. Go round. You can put your interfacing. In one of it. So one will be serving as lining. Then you join it with half an inch round. You turn it to the right side and iron very well. So this will serve for one side. Then the second. So we are going to be cutting out 4 pieces of this. So that is going to serve as your fake pockets. Then you join it on the skirt part. You measure the you measure down like 3.5 inches from your waist, from your join, where you join your waist. Measure down like 3.5. Then fix it on it. Fix it on it this way. Then turn to the right side. It's going to be like this. So 2 of that. Then you tack a button on it. So that's it for the fake pockets. So after joining my dress together, so I'll be using 3/4 sleeve for this dress. So you are good to use any sleeve of your choice. So that's how to cut this our corporate A-line dress. So I'm sure you have enjoyed this video, and share with your friends. Drop your comments on the comment section and make sure you try it out. Let me hear from you. Subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video.